figured out how to do something so that I can hear the students. It's called improvise. See, I can stand over here and hear them speak and relay that to you guys instead of having to walk over and be off screen for a little bit. Would you like a notepad? These are courtesy of the library. Your money actually pays for them. They're the blacks, usually. They're the same thing. I've been sitting in here for I don't know how long. But they were sitting on that, podium, so. So you get it for being here on time, okay? No, all your stuff's up here, okay, since you weren't here the other day. I got you covered. Yeah, right there. I'm gonna put this over here. See how it, I'm gonna stay over there mainly, but this is so, if I am we're trying to interact with them today by answering some questions. Are you gonna have access to your textbook today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, I'll let you use my hard copy, okay? But we're gonna try to work in partners. We'll see how that goes.
Hey.
You think it's what? Uh-oh. Oh, here. Now I'm not off to the side, looking crazy. It's not raining out there yet, is it?
Oh, it's an answer?
Mm-hmm.
I hate that rain.
Oh, well, we need it, so, let's see.
Because I was walking one day, I had to dip it all the way at that game, like at here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the last day of September. Yeah,
Hey, Bill.
at least I got paid. Let me make sure. I can do that very quickly. Let me check the time. Oh, I can barely get it done before we have class. It takes me longer to log in than it does anything else. Morning. All right, there's New Deal. Yep. Whoa. Whew. Yeah, I got paid. Excellent. I can pay some bills now. Okay. Life is good. She got paid. Okay. And we are gonna be working out of the books a little, so we'll see what we can do. I guess I could allow some y'all to use mine after I read, okay, to work on it. You have access? You got your laptop or whatever? We're gonna go over subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent. Isn't that a beautiful image of the top of the TVs in Post Texas? And it looks like they need to be dusted on the top, doesn't it? Lord only knows how dusty these two are, or those two, so. He'll be in a second, so. Notice the connection's been a little bit better in the last week or so. That's good. I have multiple little scratches on my hand, because that kitten we found is going for it. Okay, we're gonna do this first. Subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent, agreement. There we go. They're there, but we've still got a whole minute, so. Just as a heads up, the grammar quiz over subject verb agreement has been moved to next Friday. And Hey, oh, that looks so much better than the top of the TVs. Awesome. Yeah, that's good. Well, or the top of your head, Mr. Rathburn, so. Cool. I for- Right now, the compare and contrast paper is due next Friday. I'm probably gonna move it back to next Sunday, so that I have enough days to get all the narratives graded, because I'd like to get narratives back to people before. Oh, but it defaulted right back to the top of the TV. There we go. Now it's following Mr. Rathburn, okay. So we're working on this paper, there's New Deal coming in, okay. But no, we're taking the kitten in today to the vet, have it checked out, because I got paid, so I can do it, that's why. And, we're gonna find out what gender it is, because I have no clue. But let me tell you, I wish my kids had slept all night like the kitten does. It was in its box, ready to go to sleep about 9:30, not quite 10 o'clock last night, and it didn't get up till it didn't make a sound until we put a towel over the top. It's in a box. We put a towel over the top of the box, and it didn't make a sound until I took the cover off this morning to get it out and feed it. That's so much better than my kids were as babies. All right, New Deal's coming in. We're gonna talk about subject, verb, pronoun agreement, today, and, okay, let's make a note here. And again, that quiz is not gonna be until next Friday. I can already tell you, and I'm trying to make notes to myself so that when I look at my syllabus for next fall, because I only teach this in 1301, I'll remember that I pushed things back a day just to get a little bit more time. Because in addition to you guys, I have projects coming in from my 93 students in that sophomore online class. They have projects due either tomorrow night or Sunday. And that's, there's a lot of grading in my future. And the CAP, So, subject verb agreement test next Friday. The compare and contrast essay is gonna move to Sunday night as a due date. And when you go in and look in your unit, you're gonna see that I've already shown that on week 5, the quiz says this has been moved, we're in week 4? We're in 5. I've said it's been moved to the next week, so.
So there's no test tomorrow?
No test tomorrow, but you need an outline. That's it looks like this, of your possible compare and contrast essay. Did you watch the video? You need to watch the video. So you'll know what I'm talking about. When you go, if you miss class, and it takes them a couple of hours to get it uploaded, but go into, let me get into this class. Am I in it? No, that's the sophomore lit class, sorry. I have lots of things open. So when you go into class, for you guys to access the video, come in, make sure you can read over here, and find announcements. Click on announcements, and it should give you a list of all of them. And so as you scroll down, link for recordings for this class. It's in announcements. And I could put that in an announcement, but you would forget it. Because after the announcements start rolling down, so it's not always up there. So you click on that, and you're gonna see that it's got, right now, deleted video. That's interesting. 928 is up there. So today's will be up there in a short while. So just go to announcements, and then scroll down until you see the link to the video. And it's a YouTube video, and if you want, you can close caption in it, but closed captioning and YouTube is iffy at best sometimes, but that's where it's at. So when you miss class, that's what I expect you to do, is watch the video, because I don't have time to go reteach, and I don't have to reteach. It's a nice thing about being in college. Okay, so let's talk about subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement. And so you should have this document. By itself, these 2 pages should help you get 25 out of 25 on that grammar quiz, okay? Because it has everything in it. It actually takes what's given in chapters 25 and 27 in your textbook and condenses it down to 2 pages versus 20. So you don't have to work back and forth. But basically, in my mind, subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement is the math of English, which means everything has to be equal. And so this first paragraph, basically what it says, if the subject is singular, the verb should be singular, and any pronoun that refers back to that subject must be singular as well. Everything has to match, everything has to be equal in that instance. We use the word antecedent, that is, like ancestor, they come from the same basically root. What comes before? The noun kind of determines everything. And that's the noun that the pronoun is representing and substituting. Now, if the subject is plural, the verb is plural, and the the pronouns are plural, okay? So, here's the interesting thing we're gonna find out. Bill and Sue, did I put it up? I think I did. I actually got it where I could write on this again. It took me a while to figure it out. So here you have a plural subject and antecedent. That tells you the subject is plural, so the antecedent has to be plural. Drive is the plural verb, and there is the plural pronoun that's the antecedent, okay? Here's the quirky deal. In English, present tense verbs to be plural have an S on them. Okay, does that make sense? Plural verbs don't have an S on them. That's what I meant to say. My bad. See how it says drive? Bill and Sue drive their cars to school. I wouldn't say Bill drive his car to school, would I? I would say Bill drives his car. See the difference? So that's what's quirky. So you have no S on the verb if you have a plural subject, and you have an S on the verb if you have a singular subject. But for us, plurals always have S's. That's how you make plurals. So it's the opposite. So here we have John is the singular subject, drive. So look at that S. His car. So notice that it's Bill and Sue drive their cars. You have to have more than one car. Technically, they both can't drive their car. Only one of them would drive the car if they shared a car. John drives his car. So everything has to match. So that's the math right there. Remember that nouns and their respective pronouns must agree in person, I, me, you, he, she, they, all that stuff. They must match in number, which is singular or plural. So when I grade your paper, if you see must match number, I'm talking about singular and plural, okay? And it's got to match in gender, or if there's no gender. All right, so we're working on this, the first page of subject-verb agreement, okay? So that's the basic rules. Plural verbs, no S. Singular verbs have an S. I'll say it right this time. The following words are considered singular and take a singular verb and pronoun. If it has one in it, it's always singular. So look at this. So put a big star over here, okay? So that you know that this is going to happen on the test. So if it says one, anyone, someone, everyone, it's always singular. You use a singular verb. But what happens is someone will write everyone like, you'll do like. Everyone likes their coffee hot. And there is wrong, there is plural. So be careful. Nobody. How many is body? Body is singular. There's only one body mentioned, right? Nobody, anybody, somebody, everybody. Even though in our minds, every means all 7 of us sitting in this classroom. But everybody just means you. It's like Oprah giving everybody a car. You get a car, you get a car. No, it's like that. But it's singular, okay? So watch out. Okay. And then the miscellaneous, neither, either, can be neither or either, however you want to say it, each. I want you to add every over here too. Because you would never say every likes my cooking. You would never say that, would you? You would say everyone likes my cooking. Everybody likes my cooking. Every person in the room likes my cooking. See? You would never use every by itself. It's always going to be followed by another word. Okay? So those are always, just add every there. And now we go on to examples. One of my friends serves as a representative for his dormitory floor. This is a common error in student writing. Because of my friends, circle this prepositional phrase. One of my friends, what I will see is one of my friends serve as a representative for his dormitory floor. Because you picked up on friends because it's sitting next to the verb in the sentence and decided that that's the subject of the sentence. If I were to ask somebody what the subject of the sentence is, at least 5 people out of 10 would tell me it's friends. And I'll go, no, that's the object of the preposition. Here's the subject, here's the verb. And other clues in the sentence to let you know that it's singular is his is how many? His is only one. That's the antecedent, or that's the pronoun, sorry, that should be a P. And Flora's only one. Either of the girls makes a good choice because of her dependability. There's another of those prepositional phrases. I guarantee on that test next Friday, there will be a sentence that has a prepositional phrase after one of these words. It may not be exactly set up like this, but there will be a prepositional phrase that'll make you think that the object of that preposition is the subject of the sentence. Okay? Singular, singular. See, choice is singular. If it were plural, the girls would have to be choices, wouldn't it? And her is singular. So you have to think about what's going on in the sentence too. We got each of the students, so if you circle those prepositional phrases, make a note to yourself. Don't, pay attention, don't use last prepositional phrase as subject. And boy, you can't read my handwriting, I apologize. The last two sentences are just, they don't have anything intervening. Everyone is expected to take his hat off when the flag goes by. Hat is singular. If it had said their hats, it would be different. There's something else going on. Nobody wants to take on cleaning the basement as her spring project. See, there are clues in there that it's singular in the sentence. Her project is singular, hat is singular, flag is singular. So that's one of those things to watch out for. So the problem is you may struggle when you're using everyone or nobody or somebody or either or each, that you're not sure what pronoun to use for gender. And so, and it's awkward to say his/her or his or her. My advice, and they contradict me later on, but I'm going to tell you stick with mine. My advice is if you are using everyone, everyone is expected to take his hat off, stick with the same gender. If you alternate genders in your writing, then it's like you've introduced a new character. Everyone took his hat off, then someone took her coat off. That's a different person, isn't it? So if you're going to pick a gender, stick with it, but don't go his/her or his or her. And that's really all that paragraph says. So now we're going over to suggestions. And they basically say, if it's possible, make everything plural. But if you're talking about a singular individual, you can't do that. So make sure everything matches. Now this is a quirky part right here. These are collective or group words that take a singular verb and a singular pronoun if you talk about the group as a unit. And they take a plural verb and a plural pronoun if you think of the individuals in the group. So I asked Rodney, Rodney's my guy that's retired military. I said, well, what do you call a group of soldiers? He goes, a unit, a brigade, a squadron. I said, okay. So if I talk about the squadron defeated its enemy soundly, then I'm talking about the whole squadron did it as a unit. But if I say the brigade cleaned their weapons after the fight, then I'm talking about each guy cleaned his own weapon. You get that? I had to talk about them as a plural entity because they're not all cleaning one weapon. Okay. And so they give you some examples, some more examples over here. They give you what it is. The team was ready to play its game. Think about, you go out on a Friday night, there's 11 guys on each side of the football. They're not playing 22 different games, are they? They play one game. So the team was ready to play its game has to be singular, whether there's 5 guys on the team or 9 guys or 11 girls. Okay? The team were all suited up for their pictures. They can't all be wearing the same uniform. It just wouldn't work. The game would take much longer if they had to trade out the uniform. Have you ever like skins and shirts or whatever? Yeah, you have to work on that. My family is behind me with all its support. Everyone in the family supports you, and my family are all scattered, as you can see by their addresses. So they don't all live in the same house. So they have to have different addresses. So I'm going to pull out jury and talk about jury, because that might be one of the easier ones to deal with. The jury entered the courtroom and took their seats. The jury enter the courtroom and take their seats. I'm trying to make it right. Because they can't all sit in one chair. They have to sit in individual chairs in the courtroom, okay? But if I say the jury reaches its decision, There's only one decision. The jury only comes up with one decision. It doesn't come up with multiple. So that's one more example for you, okay? I talk with my hands, sorry. So now, note the subject, verb, and pronoun agreement in the following special sentence constructions. Number one basically talks about prepositional phrases or intervening phrases between the subject and the verb. So the first example says, my father, as well as his two friends. Notice how those commas separate out this little phrase. That's just a phrase, just, prepositional phrase. And because it's separated by commas, it's not essential to the sentence, so you ignore it. My father enjoys his walks around the neighborhood. Put a little star by this one. The chairperson, along with the board members, see, there's those commas again, just like the prepositional phrase, but those aren't separated off. These tend to be separated off. Believes that her position is right. So look in the sentence. You will not have multiple things wrong on the test if you're going to say that it's incorrect. You'll only have one error. I won't have the chairperson, along with the board members, believe that their position is right. I wouldn't do that, okay? There'll only be one error. Now the next one, put a big star by this one, okay? When subjects are joined by either or, neither nor, I'm saying them both ways, not only but also, the verb and the pronoun agree with the subject closer to them. That doesn't make great sense, right, the way they say it there. But look at the first example. During a game, not only the coach but also the players show their emotions. When you have, these are paired conjunctions. When you have paired conjunctions, you only are concerned with matching what comes after the second conjunction in the pair. So all you have to deal with is what comes after or, nor, or but also. But also the players show. So see how that matches their emotions? And when they switch it during a game, not only the players, but also the coach shows his emotions. So that's what has to match. Guarantee there'll be one of those on the test. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I made the test up a couple of years ago. I don't remember, okay? So see if you've got this, I'm telling you that they're going to be on there. And then the last one says, when the subject of a sentence and by the way, you will notice that I've said something that's got not only and but also. What happens, but also can be split. It could say, not only the coach, but the players also show their emotions. The also doesn't have to be right next to the but it has to be in that second half somewhere. So if you don't put the also in, I count off for that. So like a little partial point off, okay? The last one says, when the subjects of a sentence are preceded by each and every, both the verb and the pronoun should be singular. Each college, that's singular. Each university has its own special requirements. I could say every college and university has its own special requirements, okay? So that's why I had to add every to the other one. And that's subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreements. Cool, we're done. So what we're going to do right now is you need to open up your computers and you need to turn to page 317 in your textbook, okay? If you don't have access, I have one copy of the book here. That's people in the shed. That's all I have. But it's 317. I'm going to read it to you. We're going to do some work with it today, okay? Let me close this out. Changes you made may not be saved, okay. All right, so I'm in the textbook. Remember, the textbook is, here's your class. Remember, in Blackboard, this is where it's at, textbook. You just click on it. I already have it open. And it defaults to 443, so here it is. Page 317 is right up here. And it's a essay entitled Born to be Different. It's a really good essay. I'm going with the notion that many of you probably skimmed it if you read it at all. I'm just being honest, okay? I understand. So, this is by Camille Lewis. So when you first start reading something, you think, what does born to be different mean? What is that about that title that's going to tell me something? So some years ago when my children were very young, I cut a cartoon out of a magazine and taped it to my refrigerator. It showed a young couple welcoming friends over for Christmas. The host rather proudly announced that instead of dolls, they have given their little daughter her own set of tools. And sure enough, the second panel shows their little girl playing in her room, a wrench in one hand and a hammer in the other. But she's making the wrench say, "Would you like to go to prom, Barbie?" And the hammer answered, "Oh, Ken, I'd love to." Oh my, did that cartoon strike a chord. I grew up with Ms. Magazine and the National Organization for Women, and a firm belief that gender differences were learned, not inborn. Other parents may have believed that pink and baby dolls and kindergarten teaching were for girls, and blue and trucks and engineering were for boys, but by golly, my kids were going to be different. They were going to be raised free of all that harmful gender indoctrination. They were just going to be people. I don't remember exactly when I began to suspect I was wrong. Maybe it was when my 3-year-old son, raised in a no-weapons household, bit his toast into a gun shape and tried to shoot the cat. Maybe it was when his younger brother nearly levitated out of his car seat, joyously crowing "backhoe" upon spotting his first piece of earth-moving equipment. Maybe it was when my little daughter first lined up her stuffed animals and began teaching them their ABCs and bandaging their boo-boos. It wasn't that my sons couldn't be sweet and sensitive, or that my daughter wasn't sometimes rowdy and boisterous, but I had to rethink my earlier assumptions. Despite my best efforts not to impose gender-specific expectations on them, my boys and my girl were, well, different. Really different. Slowly and hesitantly, medical and psychological researchers have begun confirming my observations. The notion that the differences between the sexes, beyond the obvious anatomical ones, are biologically based is fraught with controversy. Such beliefs can easily be misinterpreted and used as a basis for harmful, oppressive stereotypes. They can be overstated and exaggerated into blanket statements about what men and women can and can't do, about what the genders are good and bad at. And yet the unavoidable fact is that studies are making it ever clearer that, as groups, men and women differ in almost every measurable aspect. Learning about those differences helps us understand why men and women are simultaneously so attracted and fascinated, and yet so frequently stymied and frustrated by the opposite sex. To dig into what it really means to be masculine and feminine helps to depersonalize our responses to one another's behavior, to avoid the "my perceptions and behaviors are normal, yours don't make sense" trap. Our differences are deep-rooted, hardwired, and present from the moment of conception. To begin with, let's look at something as basic as the anatomy of the brain. Typically, men have larger skulls and brains than women. But the sexes score equally well on intelligence tests. This apparent contradiction is explained by the fact that our brains are apportioned differently. Women have about 15% more gray matter than men. Gray matter, made up of nerve cells and the branches that connect them, allows the quick transference of thought from one part of the brain to another. This high concentration of gray matter helps explain women's ability to look at many sides of an argument at once and to do several tasks or hold several conversations simultaneously. Men's brains, on the other hand, have a more generous portion of white matter. White matter, which is made up of neurons, actually inhibits the spread of information. It allows men to concentrate very narrowly on a specific task without being distracted by thoughts that might conflict with the job at hand. In addition, men's larger skulls contain more cerebrospinal fluid, which cushions the brain. Scientists theorize that this reflects men's history of engaging in warfare and rough sports, activities which bring with them a high likelihood of having one's head banged about. That explains a lot, doesn't it? Our brains' very different makeup leads to our very different methods of interacting with the world around us. Simon Baron-Cohen, author of The Essential Difference, Men, Women, and the Extreme Male Brain, has labeled the classic female mental process as empathizing. He defines empathizing as the drive to identify another person's emotions and thoughts and to respond to these with an appropriate emotion. Empathizers are constantly measuring and responding to the surrounding emotional temperature. They are concerned about showing sensitivity to the people around them. This empathetic quality can be observed in virtually all aspects of women's lives, from the choice of typically female-dominated careers, nursing, elementary school teaching, social work. No elementary school for me, trust me. To reading more popular mainly with women, romantic fiction, articles about relationships, advice columns about how people can get along better, to women's interaction with one another, which typically involves intimate discussions of relationships with friends and family, and sympathy for each other's concerns. So powerful is the empathizing mindset that it even affects how the typical female memory works. Ask a woman when a particular event happened, and she often pinpoints it in terms of an occurrence that had emotional content. That was the summer my sister broke her leg, or that was around the time Jean and Mary got into such an awful argument. Likewise, she is likely to bring her empathetic mind to bear on geography. She'll remember a particular address, not as 11th and Market Streets, but being near the restaurant where we went on our anniversary or around the corner from Liz's old apartment. In contrast, Baron Cohen calls the typical male mindset systemizing, which he defines as the drive to analyze and explore a system, to extract underlying rules that govern the behavior of a system. A systemizer is less interested in how people feel than in how things work. Again, the systematic brain influences virtually all aspects of the typical man's life. Male-dominated professions such as engineering, computer programming, auto repair, and mathematics rely heavily on systems, formulas, and patterns. That was geometry. I could not get it. And very little on the ability to intuit another person's thoughts or emotions. Reading material most popular with men includes science fiction and history, as well as factual how-to magazines on such topics as computers, photography, home repair, and woodworking. When they get together with male friends, men are far less likely to engage in intimate conversation than they are to share an activity, watching or playing sports, working on a car, bowling, golfing, or fishing. Men's conversation is peppered with dates and addresses, illustrating their comfort with systems. Back in 1996, when I was living in Boston, or the best way to the new stadium is to go all the way out Walnut Street to 33rd and then get on the bypass. One final way that men and women differ is in their typical responses to problem solving. Ironically, it may be this very activity, intended on both sides to eliminate problems, that creates the most conflict between partners of the opposite sex. To a woman, the process of solving a problem is all important. Talking about a problem is a means of deepening the intimacy between her and her partner. The very anatomy of her brain, as well as her accompanying empathetic mindset, makes her want to consider all sides of a question and to explore various possible solutions. To have a partner who is willing to explore a problem with her is deeply satisfying. She interprets that willingness as an expression of the other's love and concern. But men have an almost completely opposite approach when it comes to dealing with a problem. Everything in their mental makeup tells them to focus narrowly on the issue, solve it, and get it out of the way. The ability to fix a problem quickly and efficiently is to them a demonstration of their power and competence. It makes them the best man, right? When a man hears his female partner begin to describe a problem, his strongest impulse is to listen briefly and then tell her what to do about it. From his perspective, he has made a helpful and loving gesture. From hers, he short-circuited a conversation that could have deepened and strengthened their relationship. The challenge that confronts men and women is to put aside ideas of better and worse when it comes to their many differences. Our diverse brain development, our ways of interacting with the world, and our modes of dealing with problems all have their strong points. In some circumstances, a typically female approach may be more effective. In others, a classically masculine mode may have the advantage. Our differences aren't going to disappear. My daughter, now a middle schooler, regularly tells me she loves me, while her teenage brothers express their affection by grabbing me in a headlock. Learning to understand and appreciate one another's gender-specific qualities is the key to more rich and rewarding lives together. And it explains a lot, doesn't it? Guys, do you see yourself in the guys? I see me partly in the women's. I see me also in the men's. I want to solve the problem, get it over with. I don't want to talk about it. That's why I don't like Nicholas Sparks movies or books, okay? They drive me crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to divvy up the questions that come up next. There's questions 2. Questions 1, I'm going to split them up a little bit differently. Questions, you have questions 1, 4, and, let me see here. 1, 4, and let's give you 7. You guys are going to answer that as a group. New Deal, you have questions 2, 5, and 8. So SPC, you get 3, 6, 9, and 10. Okay? It just worked that way. And you can divvy them up. You 3 can deal with 2 of the questions, and you 3 can deal with the other 2. Okay? You can break it up and work together. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes or so to do that. Okay? But it goes quicker if you work together. They didn't work together in my 8 o'clock class, and they didn't get all the questions answered that they were supposed to do, so work together. So like 3, you can do 3 and 9, 6 and 10. How about that? 3 and 9 for the back 3, 6 and 10 for the front 3. Okay? And then you guys divvy up however you want to at your school. So it shouldn't take very long to do these. you just another minute or so, okay? Okay, yeah. Okay, we should be almost done, right? I can tell you work together wonderfully, right? All right, so, hold on. I gotta hang on to this so I can remember who had what question. As I go slightly move over here, so I can hear responses. Okay. Okay, so we started with post with question number 1. I don't have my answers written down here. Okay. So post. Hang on. Let me get into question number 1 says, which of the following statements best represents the implied thesis of born to be different? You can try talking to my friend, see if I can hear you, okay? Is that a no?
For number 1.
You're gonna have to be a little bit closer to the mic for me.
It was paragraph 4.
Paragraph 4, okay. The question number 1 asks, which of the following statements? So was it A, B, C, or D? That's why paragraph 4 didn't make sense to me. Yeah, no. Or if it's too hard to use the microphone, we can, this is A, this is B. I've come up with this over the course of 2 days. This is C, and this is D. If that's an easier way to do it. Which one do you think is the implied thesis for the essay?
Miss Thompson, the answer to number 1 is A.
A, that is correct. If you guys, everybody wants to write it down. A is the correct answer for the first question on this. Okay. Which is, although the author believed that gender differences were learned rather than inborn, experience with her own children convinced her otherwise. That's the implied thesis. And because of that, she went out and read some research. Okay. Question number 2 goes to Dudil. And it is, which statement would best serve as the topic sentence for paragraphs 6 and 7? Are you sending me a sign, or are you saying A?
We said A, Miss Thompson.
A, that is correct. Because of their different construction, Men's and women's brains function differently. Because that's what it talks about. It talks about the anatomical differences between the male and the female brain. The white matter, the gray matter versus the white matter. Okay? Hey. The two views I have of the schools are awesome right now. I'm looking at one side, I can see myself waving on the TV, and then I've got the top of the TVs at post. All right. Question number 3 goes to SBC. What did y'all come? Let me scroll here. Okay, so which statement below would best serve as the topic sentence on paragraph 11? What'd you come up with, Julie?
Honestly, I only did 6 and 9, 6 and
Oh,
9.
okay, so you
Yeah.
three, that's you three did it. Okay, what back there, Lauren, Kisa, or Kusia, or Kim, right? Get it right.
I got it.
You got D? What'd you get, Lauren? What'd you get, Kusia? It's D on number 3. Men's approach to problem solving is the opposite of women's. And that's a masculine trait that I share. I find that kind of funny, that I share that one. Because I just want to get them over and done with. I don't want to do all that touchy-feely talky stuff. That drives me crazy. All right, number 4 goes back to post. Paragraph 8 states that the empathizing mindset can be observed in virtually all aspects of women's lives. What evidence does Lewis provide to support that claim? And there are 3 pieces of evidence, by the way. So speak loud, post.
He starts by giving an example of the choice of a typical female dominate career
So jobs is one, yes.
and to women's interaction with one another.
Okay, their interaction with each other, okay? And there's one more.
And he talks about how sensitive women are.
Okay, and actually lists reading material, what women prefer to read. That's the 3rd bit of information she gives, okay? So it's jobs, reading material, and interaction with other women, interaction with the world, basically, okay? Good job there. All right, so we go to New Deal for number 5, which is according to the author, what are the 3 major differences between men and women? And this is basically the criteria that are being evaluated for men and women. What are those, New Deal?
Anatomy of the brain,
Okay,
their approach to problems,
anatomy of the brain,
their approach to problems,
approach to problem solving, what else?
and then the responses to each other's problem solving.
No, that's part of problem solving. It's going to be the ways in which they interact with the world. And by the way, that the actual thesis statement for this essay is in the concluding paragraph. That's where it's listed out for you. Okay? All right, SPC, you have number 6. Okay, that's still the group in the back. No, is that you guys? You're 6. Okay. As the author presented her evidence one side at a time or point by point, let me show you what I had the schools do. When I was doing about here's one at a time, here's point by point, because I'm pointing and pointing by pointing. Okay. So what did you come up with, Joe?
Well, at the beginning, I thought it was side by side, but now I think it's point by point.
Point by point. What do you think, Al?
I think it's point by point.
How about you, Isaiah?
I think it's point by point.
It is point by point. This is alternating method, point by point. What's interesting is that you guys, when you write your essays, if you do alternating or point by point, same thing, is that you're going to have one paragraph for each of the criteria. The reason Lewis has 2 is that she deals with women in one paragraph and men in the next paragraph right after it, and she always does them in that order. So that's why her essay is longer. It's running 1,500 to about 2,000 words. But it is point by point. But notice that it stays in the same order, and within those orders, she always keeps her orders correct. So it's a well-written alternating or point by point. Okay, we go back to post for number 7. As shown by the outline below, the organization, what's the organization? So what paragraphs are the introduction post? Did y'all get that far? Okay, how about I'll just give you
For
an
number
answer on this
7?
one, okay? So, the introduction is paragraphs 1 through 5. You don't get to do 5 paragraphs on in your introduction, you just need 1 paragraph, okay? So introduction is 1 through 5, supporting point 1 is 6 and 7. Did you notice a couple of the questions grouped paragraphs together? That's because they're about the same point. Supporting paragraph 2 is 8, 9. Supporting point 3 is 10 and 11, and the conclusion is 12, okay? New deal, number 8. What are the 3 contrast signals used to introduce the main supporting paragraphs in the essay? Where do they occur? Did we not get there?
We said the contradiction, the apparent contradiction in paragraph 6.
Okay, I'm contradiction in paragraph 6, let me go. I have to scroll up. There's 5. Okay, this apparent contradiction is explained, okay, that's 6. You find any others?
On the other hand, in 7.
On the other hand, in 7 is the contradiction. You're looking for words that signal the opposite, and it can be more than a single one. Did you come up with another one?
And in contrast, in 9.
In contrast in 9, that's right. You also have, in 10.
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll get it done, just give me a second. In 10, you actually have, in the middle, it says, let me find it, it says, one final way that men and women differ. It's actually a very long phrase in that one, so there's several. Okay, number 9 goes to, guys in the back, what did y'all come up with? It's, I've got to go flying around here. Okay, so what method best describes the introductory paragraph to the essay? What did you come up with? C, an idea, an anecdote. Do we know what the word anecdote means? It is a story. Okay, I agree that it's that, but I also think it's B, because an idea that is the opposite of the one to be developed. Her story is about how she thought that it was learned, but over the course of the development of that introduction, we realized that actually, through that story, that it's the opposite of what she thought it was. So I think there's a kind of a blending of the two, which means you can do that. And number 10 is going to be the front group. With which common method of conclusion does the essay end? What do you think, Julie? A summary and a final thought. Isaiah? Same. Alex? Yeah, it's a summary and a final thought. So that's what you got. So tomorrow, what you have to do only is the outline, which is the, hold on, graphic. It would help if I could get it where you could see it. You can't obviously see it in my hands over there. It's this one, and what you're seeing is I actually worked with a student yesterday, and we did summer and winter. And we just hand wrote it in because that's all I had. You know, we're sitting after class, and their thesis statement basically says...
Your conference is now over.
You can type it in because it's
Goodbye.
a Word document. Before deciding on a favorite season, a person should look at the holidays. I had the weather, decided to change it to the activities, and the clothing. And then you just kind of fill it in. And... you know, because I could do it by hand, we could draw the arrows that we chose to do alternating. We're going that way. If you're doing block, the organization will go that way, okay? So that's what's due tomorrow. So give me an idea what you're writing on. So you need to figure it out. If you need to, you can eat at 2 restaurants. It just can't be 2 fast food restaurants, okay? If you want to do Cane's and Chick-fil-A, that's fine, even though they're both fast foods. You just can't use atmosphere, and they're gone. So have a great weekend. Don't forget to get that outline done, okay?
We don't have chapters tomorrow?
You don't know, the quiz tomorrow was over grammar, was over subject verb, and I pushed that off the next Friday, okay? And what we're gonna do on Monday is we'll go over everybody's outlines. I'll look at them, and we'll go over them and talk about them, and that way you can see, you might say, oh, hey, that's my topic, but I didn't have those categories. It allows you to see maybe something you might have missed, okay? Uh-huh.
So you know how whenever we turn in the narrative outline, how mine just came up as a blank PDF?
Let me pull it out, okay? That first time?
It won't be graded like that, will it?
Well, didn't you turn one in later on?
Yeah, I think so.
Let me look here. Let me get my... This would help. Bye. Oh, yeah, if you'll just sit my book up here on the corner for me, please.
Did you get my email the other day?
Yes, I did, but I didn't get it till later, but you have to realize, I was trying to grade, I couldn't get in either. So, so if you had been in class, it was, I actually didn't count anything late that came in Monday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so if it came in Monday, you're fine. Let me go look, Alex, okay? What's your last name?
Villarreal.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye. That helps if I'm in the right class. Let me get into yours. I didn't mean to hit on my grades, that's the wrong thing. That's what I would do if I were a student. Oh, I'm in 208. I'm still not in the right class. Just putting a 0, somebody didn't turn in the narrative outline. You got a 25 on your narrative outline.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure, 'cause I know that came up as a blank.
Right, but I told you that, and so you got it to me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when you get it to me, then I put the grade in,
Oh,
okay? Yeah, no, I tend to be, it's like, I've got that huge monster class that's online. I have a kid who, I sat there and told him it 3 times in class, it says it all over everything, not to turn stuff as in pages, and he's turned in 6 documents as pages. And, you know, and I put it, the only way I got his attention was by putting a 0 in one. So that's one way I do it, I do that to get attention, so people do things right. So just, but remember, we talked about it, and we figured out how you've got to save it as the Word document instead, yeah, okay. All right, see you Tuesday. Okay. Hey there, sorry, I mean, you called it 8:03, it was hilarious.
No, well, I just didn't know. I don't remember what time your class started. No, it's my bad. I was thinking 9.
That's okay,
So,
Dad does the same thing. I'm not important, so I understand, I get it.
no, I just can't, I couldn't remember, that's it.
That's okay.
So, I'm struggling this morning with what to do,
About?
because I talked to the real estate agent yesterday,
Yeah,
and she said because of the price point that we're at, we could get out of the house without having to pay anything out of pocket.
oh, really?